This is The Basketball Show with Shane the Hammer Heel. What they gonna say next?
Hello, everybody. The Basketball Show coming to you from New York and Sydney today. Hammer, how you going?
I'm good, Joe, but we've dropped a whole segment so you can just tell us about your travelling escapades in the States, now in New York. You've been in Vegas, Los Angeles. Unbelievable stuff. Are you ever coming home?
I'm feeling pretty lucky. I have extended my trip a week, I must admit. There's too much to do here in New York, but it's been awesome. Was at Barclays the other night. I went to the Garden for the first time. Honestly, I was like a kid in a candy store. I was so excited. And Miami were playing too, so fangirling big time. But it's been good. It's been good. But I'm missing home. I will be ready to come back when I do get back.
You're allowed to say no when they say, do you want fries with that too?
Yeah, okay.
Well, enjoy. We can't wait to hear the stories when you get back. And well done on the little reporting from the All-Star weekend. You know, I have no interest at all, but your little story was different.
It was a lot of fun, and especially the fact that they had the 75th anniversary sort of celebration at halftime as well, and commemorated all of those people. MJ was in the building. Everyone went nuts. It was crazy. It was kind of one of those pinch yourself sort of moments. But plenty still happening in the basketball world at home as well. So I'm going to pick your brain today and find out a bit more about that. Special shout out as always to TCL Mobile, 2K, and Bet with Joel as well. I wish I could say that my part of this trip was brought to you by them. It's not. They bring us the basketball show. But let's get into it with our TCL starting five. Injury news, Hammer. Josh Giddey is sidelined at the moment. He's already missed one game for OKC. What we know at this point in time is that he's not playing against Sacramento tomorrow. They've got more or less back-to-back games all week, but the coach has come out and said that it could be some time. It's a hip injury. What are your thoughts? I don't think it's the end of the world, but could it disrupt his momentum a little bit?
Well, he obviously he'd be disappointed because he's playing such good basketball, and momentum's a beautiful thing when it's going in your direction. So he would have loved to have kept this rolling on. But in saying that, sometimes a little bit of a break for him as a rookie. It gets hard night in, night out. He'll be getting fatigued both mentally and physically as well. So he'll get freshened up, and no doubt he's going to finish the season on a high and make a run for Rookie of the Year. Who would have thought we would have been saying that about the teenage sensation in his first year?
Do you think that he could do it? Really?
Well, you've got to have a closer look at the numbers, and we're a little bit biased over here, but he's just been unbelievable. And just thinking how young he is and the upside that he's got, and it's been incredible. So fingers crossed, but regardless of what awards he gets, he's just on the right direction. He's going to be a superstar if he's not already a star.
Yeah, exactly. Some really crappy news to come out of Brisbane. Nathan Sobey's house was robbed. They took his bronze medal. It's obviously, I imagine people have seen it on social media, a bit of a campaign to try and somehow track it down. But what did you first think when we heard this? Because, I don't know, you can't replace something like that. I feel really sad for him.
Yeah, and you can't replace the sentimental value that, comes with something like that. You just can't replace it, and it's disappointing. And hopefully, I know the basketball show, we're getting it out on socials, and hopefully there's enough momentum, put enough pressure on, and they find these morons that break into people's houses and do this. So head up, mate, and hopefully it all comes to fruition.
Yeah, fingers crossed. The Boomers, Hammer, beat Japan. They were, I think, only up by 2 points at halftime, but ended up flogging them pretty comfortably in the end. Japan were considered the biggest threat for this young Boomers side that are over there at the moment. What have you liked about what you've seen? Nick Kay, Angus Brandt, those guys leading the way?
Yeah, well, it sort of snuck up on me, and Basketball Australia haven't done a great job of promoting this, that it's even happening, and the whole thing from what I've seen. But Nick Kay, he's a core part of that Boomers. He was so good, in that Olympic medal, and you would expect him to lead from the front. He's done exactly that. Emmett Nah, who's buried that deep on the bench at the Illawarra Hawks, showing that he still has something to offer another team next year. 11 assists is incredible. Obviously loves playing under Bevo as well. And it sort of shows too that it's not every player is going to fit for every coach and the style. And it doesn't mean they're not a good player, because I still think he can have a really good NBL career for someone else. So well done to him from being able to make that happen as well.
I was going to ask you that. Do you still see him being a valuable role player for another NBL team at some point?
Really valuable. When you look at him as a backup guard that could be playing considerable minutes, where they don't need him to score. He can fit in when you've got great players around that can hit shots, because he's such a great passer. He's got a really good poise. But, Brian Goorjian's got a different style of being able to play. He's a real defensive orientated coach. He's got defenders there in his Americans in that back court. And, maybe he's just not the right fit with the off guard at the current moment. But he'll be good for someone else. And I've got no doubt he'll do it for a lot of years to come.
Now, weirdly, I've actually seen more of the Asian qualifiers over here than I have of the NBL of late. I don't know how that's happened. But the Sydney Kings are on a massive winning streak. I saw Jalen Adams the other day with the game winner against the Adelaide 36ers. How have they pulled this together over the course of the last few weeks?
Well, Adams and Cooks, it's a thing of delight, this combination that they've been able to create. And Xavier's been playing his best basketball. We know he was injury riddled last year, just getting momentum and playing with such a quality point guard that can make things happen down the stretch. They're just playing with this element of belief and confidence that we haven't seen in a Kings lineup for a long, long time. And, knowing that Clark's only going to get better over time. They haven't been perfect because they've got out of jail a couple of times. That can be good and bad. But when you're in those situations and you have a belief that when you get to the end of the game, you're just going to pull things out to be able to make it happen, sends a pretty strong message. They're one of the top 3 teams for me to win the championship.
Okay, interesting. Liz Cambage was officially unveiled by the LA Sparks. So there's some cool pictures of her with her new jersey. Then she was courtside for the Lakers game after that. Do you like this move for her?
Well, I guess when you're going to bag the current coach at Vegas, she was always moving somewhere. You're not coming out and saying that it's disgraceful that a coach is earning a whole lot more money than the stars. And I guess from Becky Hammond, who comes from the Spurs, and Greg Popovich, that obviously was never going to fit. So she was obviously on a bike somewhere, landed in LA, which you would probably think is a good city for her, based on her personality and the way she likes to be able to get out there and have an opinion and everything else. So they'll probably be a pretty good fit. And we know that when she's on song, she's one of the best players in the competition, and hopefully she can get back to the standard that she set a couple of years ago.
Yeah, I agree. I think LA is going to be good for her. And just judging by her social media and looking at the photos and everything, she actually really
What photos?
Quite happy at the moment.
What photos?
Just on her social media, she's been covered in the press over here as well. Been watching NBA Today and all that sort of thing. So, okay. No, excited for her, and hopefully she can sort of turn a new leaf and make something of herself in LA. It'd be good.
Let's see.
All right, let's keep things moving and bring in D-Ruck for Crystal Gazing. All right, time to look ahead to some of the matchups this week, bringing in Derek Crocker, as we always do. D, how are you holding up there in Brisbane with all the storms and everything? You okay?
Yeah, well, I'm okay. I'm one of the fortunate ones, but obviously there have been many who are in the quite unfortunate position. It's hard to travel around the region at the moment. Public transport shut down. A lot of highways are closed. So everyone just needs to really chill out and be safe and stay home again.
Yeah, thinking of everyone up there who's been impacted by it. Hopefully it passes soon. Let's get into Crystal Gazing in the meantime, though. New Zealand hosting the Hawks later this evening. Who do you see winning that one?
The Hawks haven't been impressive, but I'm going to go with them here against my brain's better judgment. I think they'll just have too much against New Zealand. New Zealand must be suffering from low morale at the moment. And, the Hawks have to put it together from this point on now. Don't you think, Shane?
Yeah, I'm not convinced they can, but We know they've got the best coach in the league, and they're going to find ways to be able to win games, but probably still fall a little bit short of that top 4.
Adelaide hosting South East Melbourne. Hammer, do you give the 36ers a chance? And if not, why not?
Well, they have a chance, but they're not going to win. South East Melbourne have just got too much firepower, and I think they're going to continue to get better as the season goes on. The thing they always do, though, is they give opposition teams a chance to be able to win games based on the lack of defence that South East Melbourne have played, over the last couple of years, really. So they need to tighten up on that. Make sure a couple of those guys don't get going in Adelaide, but I think they'll be too strong.
Next up, Tassie hosting New Zealand. The Breakers, as we say, low on morale, but I've probably got them in this one. Dee, what do you think?
Really? I'm going with the Jack Jumpers. I think they'll bounce back off of that loss to Brisbane. Look, they miss Will Magnay. They need him back in the lineup to provide that interior presence defensively. That was a big problem against Brisbane. Brisbane just attacked the paint and eventually wore the Jack Jumpers down in a nice victory for the Bullets. So, yeah, I'm going Tasmania to win this one.
Melbourne hosting Brisbane. Hammer, talk to me. What are you thinking?
Melbourne are way too good for Brisbane right now. I don't think Brisbane are going to be able to score against Melbourne United. Even if JLA's out, I still think that Melbourne's just so strong across the board. They're disciplined. Their culture's off the chart. And, Brisbane are struggling a little bit right now. They're a little bit up and down. Not sure what they stand for. I'm not sure they really have an identity about who they are. And it's going to be tough for them against United on the road.
Perth will be in Adelaide to take on the 36ers. This could be quite an interesting game, Dee. Where do you see it going?
Well, Adelaide played well enough, Joe, to get the Kings. There was a great play at the end of the game by Jalen Adams to win that one. Perth are they got some hiccups at the moment. They don't look fluid. I think they need to make a move. Oh, wow. I'm going to go with Perth in this one. I think somehow they'll just eke it out, but boy, I'm not confident at all.
Sydney hosting Cairns next. I can't see Cairns winning this, but they have been putting up a fight and showing a little bit of resistance. Samo, do you agree?
Oh, they definitely fight, no doubt about that. And Coach Adam Ford really challenges his players to fight, and they have to because they don't have the same amount of talent as what the Sydney Kings have. But the Kings have been impressive, and you only feel like they're going to continue to get better as the season goes on. We're all speaking about Jalen Adams, and, it sort of brings my memory back to Chase Buford, at the start of the season, how confident he was when I spoke to him about Adams because he'd coached him before. And now we're seeing the full benefits of that. He's making Cooks better and the whole team better. They still have to address the Sydney Kings, some of those dead patches where they go without scoring for a period of time, but they're playing with a whole lot of confidence right now.
South East Melbourne hosting Illawarra. Derek, which way does that one go? South East Melbourne presumably too strong at this point for the Hawks?
I think I'm going to go with Southeast Melbourne here, Joe. And this is a big game for both teams. This is a chance for the Phoenix to prove that they're a genuine championship contender. And this is a chance for Illawarra to show that they're playoff worthy. And I'm not sure of both of those causes, actually, but I think Phoenix will have too much. I think Mitch Creek is the best player on the floor, and I don't see Illawarra having anyone to defend him.
Hammer, you're nodding. Do you agree?
Yeah, I'm with you on that one. It'll be a tight match, though. That's going to be a really good battle. And these sort of games are worth double points because they could be playing for fourth spot with the way the other teams are playing and knowing that Perth have got so many games at the end of the season at home as well.
Final game of the round, Hammer, New Zealand hosting Brisbane.
I'm going to go for Brisbane to bounce back on this one with absolutely no confidence in the Bullets whatsoever. But this is a game that they have to win. And I think they will, but New Zealand can be up and down. They've got some firepower, so I'll be interested to see which one this way goes. What about you, Dee?
Coming off the back of that loss at Melbourne United, Shane, I'm forecasting that they lose to Melbourne United. I think it's going to be a tough road trip for the Bullets. And I hate to say it, but I'm going with New Zealand here. And you know what? New Zealand are due to win a game, and I think they'll get one against Brisbane.
Well, let's hope you get that right, mate, because Joe and I are sitting on top.
I was about to say, that's a big call. Hammer and I on top. Derek and Director Dave second, and then Matt on the bottom, who's sick today as well. So shout out to Matty. Hope he's feeling better. All right, gents, thanks for that.
Well, a huge in-depth it is this week, brought to you by 2K. We have the NBA championship winner and superstar, and now Sydney Kings, Ian Clark. Welcome to the show, mate, and how are you enjoying Australia?
Thank you for having me. It's been great. These last 2 weeks, obviously, it's been a whirlwind for me, getting a lot of information thrown at me, but overall, I've been having a good time.
What were your first thoughts of both the NBL and the Sydney Kings? When I watched you sitting courtside, you were so personable, your relationship with the teammates, you're in some of the rookies' ears. It was an exciting game. Seems like you've enjoyed it so far.
I definitely have. Obviously, these last 2 years have been a whirlwind for me basketball-wise. So being able to just be around, teammates, being around a group of guys, being around the group of guys, the coaching staff and everything, it just feels great. Obviously, be back playing and competing and having fun out there.
What about your game? How do you see it fitting into the NBL? On first glance, it just looks like it's perfect, and the way the Kings are built as well.
Definitely. The way that we play, the style that we play, obviously coaches put everybody in positions to be successful. But I think the way that I play, I think I can fit any style. Being able to obviously shoot the ball, but come in with some experience. And also on the defensive end, being able to compete and guard. And I think that, those things can kind of play into any kind of team. And obviously they fit well here.
Does it help a little bit having Chase Buford at the helm, American, NBA background and everything else for you to be able to fit in with the style?
Definitely. Even some of the things that we run, some of the language that we have as far as play calling defensively and offensively, I've been a part of. And it just makes the transition that much easier.
Well, you've had a whole lot of success and spent a lot of time in the NBA. How do you think Cooks and Jalen Adams, we know it's all about timing, but what sort of upside could they have with NBA futures?
I think that they have great upside. Both of those guys love to compete, but obviously you see their skill set every single game that we play. Obviously Jalen being a ball dominant guard, but being able to score in bunches, but also get the team involved. And Xavier with his athleticism, he can get the ball off the board. He can push it in transition, kind of be a point forward kind of. But also his athleticism, I think, is something that stands out and it helps us a lot.
Well, the Kings were known in the 90s as the Cardiac Kings, and I think it's back ever since you've got here. They've been exciting finishes, and the Kings are just playing with a whole lot of confidence when it gets down to the wire to be able to get the W.
Definitely. I mean, obviously these games have been a little closer than we want. We've kind of gotten up or been down and kind of fought our way back into games. But at the same time, I don't think there's any kind of panic with this team. I think the guys that we are on the court are very comfortable in those situations, and obviously we've been able to put out W's.
You've played around the world and in China. What have you made of the NBL and the style and the standards so far?
I mean, obviously the caliber of guys that have been through here have been great. A lot of guys going on to play in the NBA. A lot of guys have NBA experience that are here now, including myself. So the competition is there. It's great. And just love to compete. I love being able to compete against, top guys and go against them and being able to show what we can do.
Well, speaking of the NBA, let's take a look at this Steph Curry clip.
For myself, my teammates, the whole Warrior organization, we want to take this time to recognize Ian Clark. It had a tremendous impact on our championship run. He brought us professionalism every single day, and his joy to the game was intoxicating for our whole organization. So we want to take this time to recognize Ian, his well-deserved accomplishment, my man. Come get your ring.
Mate, I got chills looking at that myself. How does that make you feel? And just incredible stuff of what you've been able to experience and sharing the court and success with those guys.
Man, it was great. Obviously, I haven't watched that video a lot of times, honestly. So it's my second or third time seeing it. But just being able to experience that. Obviously, we know how hard it is to make the playoffs and also win the championship. So being able to have another crack at it after the year before, not winning it. So it was a great feeling. Obviously, one of the top feelings of my career, and hopefully I can keep winning championships.
Tell us a little bit more about Steph. I mean, he's a legend, one of the greatest shooters we've ever seen. Behind the scenes, and what sort of teammate and the way he practices.
I mean, you see what you get, honestly. There's no secret to the type of person that he is, what the media portrays and everything, but the type of worker that he is as well. Every day before practice, after practice, you see those guys, not just him, but all of those guys, they're getting their work in. But Steph in particular, obviously he has the God-given talent to shoot it, but at the same time, he definitely puts the work in. He's top of his game, and I think that that goes to show that what type of person that he is and the type of player that he is. Obviously, he's a superstar.
Well, you had huge success there. You still see opportunities moving forward about getting back to the NBA?
One thing I feel like that's everybody's dream. Obviously, to continue to play at a high level. My job is to kind of take it day by day. Obviously, like I said, these past 2 years have been a roller coaster for me, from going to breaking my hand, to being injured, to obviously with the pandemic and everything that's going on in the world. So being able to have this opportunity in front of me and take it day by day. Obviously, I want to get back to playing at the level that I know I'm capable. But I know it's going to take some time, and that's the road for me right now.
I know Paul Smith and Chris Pongrass would, love to see you back in the NBA. But if that didn't happen, I know what they'd love even more is you being with the Sydney Kings for many years to come.
Yeah. Obviously, like I told everybody since I've been here, being able to be around these group of guys, everybody's welcomed me, with open arms, and it's been such a great transition to be back around, these kind of guys, and being on the team that I know that has aspirations of winning, and everybody understands that. So it's a great feeling.
Have you learnt the Kings song yet? Every time I go past after a win, I listen to the guys going off singing their song at the end of every win.
I haven't heard the song yet, so maybe they'll probably get on me about it.
Yeah.
I hear some.
All right, mate. Well, thanks for coming on the basketball show, and great to have you in the NBL. Good luck in your run to the playoffs. We know you're going to start putting some points on the board. We love that three-point shot. So thanks for coming on.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, time for points made. Thanks to Bet with Joel. Hammer, we're talking about your favourite player, James Harden. He's debuted for Philly, went for a double-double in his first game, went for a triple-double today. There's a real sense of excitement and optimism around this Philly team at the moment. What have you made of his transition and what you've seen so far?
There always is, Joe. It's the honeymoon period. There always is. He looks fantastic, amazing, perfect fit for what they're doing right now. He's on his best behaviour. And what I want to see is long-term, how long this lasts. Now, it could last this season, halfway through next, but what we'll see is at some stage, things aren't going to work, because that's just his nature. That's just in his history. But if you're evaluating how he's going right now, it's the perfect start. He looks good and they look better, and they give themselves a chance to seriously compete in the East right now.
Well, I'm impressed with that answer, Shane. That's very good. But look here, he's averaging, let me check my notes, 28, 14, and 9 since joining Philly. He is on a roll. And you know Beautiful. What? His body looks different again. How quickly did this guy change his body? He looked a little bit cut the other day. But check this out. You're also not accurately reporting the facts, because when he was in Houston, he carried that program for years upon years. And it was only when Kyrie went a little bit, anti-vax, did Harden change his approach. He was good when he first got to Brooklyn. I hear you on the honeymoon thing, but I think he is going to be very strong. And I've got them as one of my top contenders to win the championship now. I was partially wrong as well. I didn't think he had this in him anymore.
We'll see.
It certainly is really exciting. The other side of that story, of course, is how Ben Simmons eventually fits in to Brooklyn. There's a man in New York by the name of Eric Adams who could have a massive impact on the rest of their season. He is the mayor, and he is, of course, in charge of the New York vaccine mandate. How important is it that happens really soon in order for Kyrie to be playing those back-to-back home games?
I don't think it's too important within the next 3 to 4 weeks. But after that, it becomes vital because I think they want to start getting a nice flow and feeling happening at the Barclays Center. Durant should be back by then, and they want to be flowing, get Ben Simmons back into the lineup. They want to be playing good basketball as they head into April, Shane. And this private sector mandate, there's some confusion over whether or not he'll be allowed to play, but they always have the ability to pay the fine up their sleeve.
Well, momentum's a beautiful thing. We say that over and over in any sport, in any league, and they have to get that core group together, get to start to understand their tendencies and everything else. We said it the last couple of weeks. We think that the Nets are going to be better with this trade as well, so it works for both teams. I want to see Ben Simmons out there. Disappointing to hear now that he's got a little bit of back soreness and everything else. I'm not sure what work he's been doing while he was out, but he should have been on court getting ready for this day so he's ready to be able to hit the ground running.
Guys, the race for the MVP seems to be, there are names being put into the hat constantly, different names as well. DeMar DeRozan is one, though. He's been balling. I think he had it was 8 games in a row of 35 plus points on 50% shooting. That was brought to an end yesterday by the Grizzlies, except I think he dropped 31 anyway. Who have you got in terms of your, let's call it, top 3 in the race for the MVP?
Well, I agree with DeRozan. Like, he's got his team second in the East right now. We know how competitive it is in the East. He's been unbelievably consistent. Isn't it amazing how some players can fit so well in one system, go to another system, and just look like out of sorts, look like they're never going to be at the same level that they once were, and you make a change, and it's been incredible, playing with great confidence, D.
Look, I hear what you're saying, and he's actually given the San Antonio Spurs organization a lot of credit. He said he became a good basketball player despite the fact that they didn't have a lot of success down there. He learned a lot. But look here, he's not even in the top 3 with MVP voting. I got Chris Paul ahead of him. I got Jokic ahead of him. I got Embiid ahead of him. All right, look, he's had a great run over the past 4 to 6 weeks. Well, let's not get carried away, Joe. You know better than that. You're over there in America now. You know the real.
Yeah, and I can sense the hype around him is definitely real. Joel Embiid is a good shout, though, and especially if he dropped 39 today. If he gets that little bit more energy and, I guess, confidence from having James Harden playing alongside him, that'll be great too. Ja Morant is another shout. I've got to ask about the Lakers. They are just... It's an absolute mess. There's so much dysfunction there. LeBron's really not happy with the organization. D, it's quite a complicated situation. How do you see it at the moment?
It is, and it's always tough whenever you bring in LeBron James because he knows best, right, Hammer? He knows what's going on. And he wanted some moves made at the deadline, even though he made some moves before the season that he wants changed at the deadline, namely Russell Westbrook. The Lakers stood pat. And look, LeBron doesn't have a contract next season. He's working under the assumption that the Lakers are going to re-sign him next year. Would the Lakers be so bold as to let him walk in free agency, Hammer? I mean, he may go to Cleveland. He may go somewhere else. He's talking about Bronny. There's so many things going around. He wants Sam Presti. There's all types of things floating around, Hammer. What do you make of it?
He's a tripper. He is tripping. LeBron, he thinks he's in Space Jam. He thinks like this is a movie where he's just directing the whole thing. So he pulled all the strings about bringing his guys in. He wanted to play the GM card at the start of the season with these guys that he brought in. Then they fail. Yeah. Because they don't make a move. Now he's throwing the GM under the bus when he was the one who made all the... So it's like, yeah, you're to blame on this. Wants to bring in Sam Presti. He's kidding himself. He is kidding himself. Please.
Feels like it's a situation that has plenty more to play out. So we'll keep that going. Very, very quickly, it's a super close race, obviously, for the MVP, but also for the championship. Who have you got winning?
What do you got, D?
I'm going to go. I've got Phoenix, Milwaukee, Philly, and Golden State as my top 4. Everybody else is on the outside.
Yeah, I agree with that. Nets, if they get things going, they're capable of beating anybody, but it's a race in 6, 4 in the East, 2 in the West.
Like, don't sleep on my Miami boys. They're coming. They're coming. That is all we've got time for, though. Dee, thank you so much. Hammer, great to see you guys. I'll be with you again from New York next week. So I'll...
Of course you will. Of course you will. Stay safe, Joe.
Bring you some more stories. I've got plenty of stash to bring back. Hammer, I also need to buy you a new shirt by the looks of things. But chat to you guys soon.
Well, that's all we've got time for. It was another huge show today, so thanks for joining us. But a big thanks to our partners as well, TCL Mobile, 2K, and Bet with Joel. We'll see you next week.
This is a co-production by News Corp Australia and Closer Sports.